Hello and welcome to another episode of Flat Chat. Today is going to be awesome because we're reviewing the Mustang Mach 1.
Sorry Alex, I didn't quite catch you for one reason or another, but what I think you were trying to say was today we're driving the Ford Mustang Mach 1 and it's absolutely awesome! Alex, before we get stuck into this car and exactly what it's all about and what it does, I feel like we need to give you guys a chance and an opportunity to appreciate fully one of its finest attributes.
Go on, give it the berries! Oh yes! Big V8, manual gearbox, give me that any day of the week.
It is a heavenly combination, oh my God.
It sounds fantastic.
It really does. But there's a whole heap more to it. This is the Mach 1. What exactly is the Mach 1?
That's a good question, Dan. It's expensive off the top of my head is what it is. $84,000, which makes this V8 manual Mustang 20 grand more expensive than a GT, which is also a V8 manual Mustang.
Ouch, but it's a veritable bargain when you compare it to the R-Spec, which is nearly $100,000.
No, and that's an Aussie developed car. We only get that R-Spec here in Australia, but internationally the Mach 1 is positioned to be between the GT and the more hypo GT350 and GT500. So it's kind of at the top of the totem pole for the regular Mustangs, I would say.
Yes, but this particular car is track focused. Now, you don't get a huge amount extra power for your $20,000, just 6 kilowatts actually is all you get, but there's tons more to it. First of all, most important thing for me is a link to Ford Mustang's heritage. The Mach 1 was last used 17 years ago, but before that, it was the very first, the original 1960s Mustang. So it's a link back to its rich history of the Mustang, the pony car.
It's a cool badge, isn't it?
Oh,
it's a really cool badge. And it's another example of Ford raiding its back catalogue. Oh, that noise. It's another example of Ford raiding its back catalogue to inject some more interest into the Mustang because it's been on sale for 6 years now, Dan.
Has it been that long?
It has. So they did this before with the Bullitt Mustang. We really liked that car. That was quite cool. And that's relevant here because the engine in this car is the same engine that was in the Bullitt.
Yes, but there's a few other differences.
There are. So they've made a bit of a track focus with this car. So they've really focused on making sure that it can cool itself properly. So there's a bunch more effective cooling for the gearbox, for the differential, and they've also tweaked the suspension. So stiffer anti-roll bars and stiffer springs all around.
And there's a bit of a bigger brake booster as well, so I'm getting confidence from those brakes. The package, early signs are incredibly good on some of these interesting and enjoyable roads. It's got to be one of the sharpest Mustangs they've ever made.
And you've got to have it with the manual gearbox, I reckon. It is available as a 10-speed auto, but this one is the 6-speed manual, and the box itself is different. It's a Tremec unit, not the GetDrag one you get in a GT.
Exactly. Now, loads of you guys will be watching saying, no, the 10-speed automatic is way faster, but honestly, it comes down to, with a car like this, sensation and involvement.
Absolutely.
A muscle car like this really does need a manual. I'm already decided on that, absolutely.
Big buffy engine, give it a big buffy manual gearbox. It's a pairing made in heaven, I reckon.
So what else do you get for the cash? Inside, there's actually not that much. We're sitting on these lovely optional black leather Recaro seats.
It's also got your number for your chassis. This one is number 727.
Okay.
Australia's only getting 700 of these cars, so it is a limited run.
Yes, so get one quick, because they sold out the Bullets pretty quickly, didn't they?
Yeah, a couple of other little touches. The one I like the most is the shifter itself. Looks like it's been nicked from a pool table at your local pub, which I quite like. But the other changes, you know, it's a smattering of details in here. But to better understand the raft of changes that have happened under the skin, I think we should pull over. Okay, the first thing I want to look at is the engine, because we've established that it sounds fantastic, but how does it look?
Fantastic.
Look at that, an engine you can see.
It's not all covered with plastic bits, it's a proper engine. 5 litres of Coyote magic.
Yeah, so naturally aspirated, so same basic engine as a GT Mustang, but Look at this, open air intake.
Lovely.
And an 87mm throttle body.
Yes, which gives you an extra whole 6 kilowatts.
Okay, so it's the same setup you got in the Bullet Mustang, which we had a little while ago. I think it sounds fantastic. I think it looks fantastic. I think the whole car looks great, actually. Other changes that you get, different front grille, obviously, with these circle elements in them, which hark back to the original Mark 1. Do you like them?
Yes, absolutely. My problem with it is it doesn't have lights in there, and it looks like it should. If it was my car, I'd probably retrofit some cool LEDs to sort of tie in with the rest of the car.
I think something is missing. Maybe that's it. One thing that I do like, big front splitter, which is great for catching on speed bumps. My favourite part though, this alloy design, this 5-spoke alloy, I really like it. The dark in the middle and the silver edge, I think it looks really cool.
I love it too. It's actually a little bit reminiscent of the Bullet as well. But anyway, inside there is exactly the same brake setup. However, it's not completely standard for the rest of the braking system, is it?
No, so same 380mm front discs as you get on a regular GT Mustang, but this one gets a bigger brake booster.
Excellent, for more stopping power. And in behind the wheel, there's more goodies as well. Stiffer anti-roll bar.
Yep. So tweaks to the suspension, stiffer anti-roll bar, stiffer front springs, and some more cooling going on under the engine as well to help, again, with the track focus. Oh, I do love that Mark 1 badge. I love that they've used the original font as well. It's really cool.
Beautiful, just straight on a panel, none of its own backing plate as well. It looks fantastic.
First thing you notice around the back are those exhaust tips. Look at them, they're huge.
Absolutely enormous, same diameter as the GT350.
Different rear diffuser design and also a rear spoiler, but the ones in Australia are a little small. They're a bit apologetic.
You want that ridiculous thing they get in America, don't you?
I swear it comes out to here and it's got its own gurney flap. It's awesome. They get all the cool stuff in America.
They do.
They do. They get the Shelby versions of the Mustang. We don't get that here. And the Mark 1 also comes with a track pack, which isn't available here either. And that adds all this aero addenda, which looks really cool. Wider rear tyres again, and also Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 rubber, so it'd be an absolute weapon to drive.
Yes, but I suspect this will also be really good fun to drive, and there's only one way we can find that out.
Go and throw it at some corners. Seems only fair to start by giving us a taste of the V8 Fury.
You can never have too much of that.
Oh, the crisp upshifts are what gets me. This gearbox is fantastic, but let's start with the engine, I think, because it does dominate the experience. Big V8. Give me a V8 and a manual gearbox any day of the week.
Perfect combination. That Coyote engine is still going strong. It's periodically updated by Ford. It's very sophisticated and it does a lot more than people really give it credit for.
I love the character of this engine, and you know, an extra 6 kilowatts doesn't sound like that much, but we've still got 345 at our disposal and 556 Newton meters, so this is a powerful car.
But I don't feel you want any more. We've already seen what a stupid amount of power can do in the R-Spec, and frankly it starts to overwhelm some of the def tuning that's going on. I think this is beautifully matched.
Yeah, and matched really nicely to this gearbox. The shift action is very positive, and the gear ratios have changed a lot, and they've changed the character of this car.
Absolutely. So first gear is actually slightly taller than in the GT, so that feels very track focused, but then the latter gears after that are pushed closer together. And it just makes that whole experience of changing gear and listening to that engine so much more enjoyable.
So you constantly kind of find yourself second, third, fourth. They're really closely stacked now, which I love because it increases the involvement that you have when you're driving this car on a windy road.
So gearbox, engine, absolute big tick, but there's tons of other stuff going on, and I'm really enjoying the other changes for the Mark 1 as well.
Me too.
The chassis, now that is absolutely standout. Body control through corners is amazing. The front end, tell me about the front end.
The front end is incredible. We mightn't have the Cup 2 tyres that the track pack gets, but we've still got a very good tyre here, Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, and the grip and the pointiness of this car, it's 1,800 kilos, remember, Dan, but it is so accurate and it's so eager to turn that sometimes I actually find myself needing to wind lock off coming into a corner.
And it's not because the tail end's oversteering, it's just because the front end is working so much harder. There's an excellent example than we were expecting. It's really, really sharp and just beautifully responsive.
You kind of think muscle car, it's going to be a big, buffy, noisy and fast in a straight line and not that quick through the turns, but the suspension changes and the chassis tweaks have made a big difference with the Mark 1. It's surprisingly talented.
But delightfully, it is also noisy and fast in a straight line as well.
Absolutely it is. To me, it's probably the best elements of all the Mustangs that I've driven rolled into one package. It's kind of like what Porsche does with its GTS models. It pinches bits and bobs from all over the place and makes one greatest hit special.
Without having to go into the RS realm, which, let's be honest, for most people would be a step too far. Yeah, I agree. It's really nice. As you put it, it's kind of like the best of. It's like an album of your favourite band and you got together all of your favourite tracks in one Mustang. And honestly, that's how I feel about this car as well. I feel like it's certainly the best Mustang I've ever driven, purely because of the balance and restraint that's gone on its development.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so well-rounded and I like it a lot more than I thought I would looking at the spec on a piece of paper. I do think it is probably the ultimate Mustang you can buy in Australia right now.
Absolutely. If you can take it to a track and do what we've done previously in it, but then drive it on roads, public roads like this day to day, it's not going to absolutely exhaust you doing that. That to me says it has to be one of the finest Mustangs ever made.
Yeah, it's not the most powerful. The R-Spec is a lot more powerful and a lot faster in a straight line, providing you can get the power to the ground, which is a bit of an issue sometimes. But as an overall package and a balanced package, this is superior to my mind. Question is it worth 20 grand more than a regular GT Mustang?
I honestly think it is worth that much, definitely. Because the package is so well rounded, I think we're looking at some really, really comprehensive development. It's 20 grand's worth extra of Mustang.
Yeah.
But the question is, would you have that over the standard GT, which is still a very, very accomplished car and a lot of car for your cash?
I can understand why you would, because, as we said, very talented, very well-engineered package, and it's a limited edition. They're only having 700 of these, so I can understand why someone would buy it, keep it, and be safe and sound in knowledge that the value is only going to go one way.
It's very easy though, isn't it, to say, oh yeah, of course I'd buy it if it was my money. But when it comes down to it, would you really spend an extra 20 grand? For a lot of people, I can see why. You make a good point. As an investment, there's only 700 of them. But honestly, if it was my money, I've never had a problem with anything that the entry-level GT does.
Yeah,
and so I would probably go for that car, to be completely honest.
Yeah, throw 10 grand's worth of upgrades to it, pocket the other 10, you have a very good car. But as an overall package, I think Ford, great job, because I was a little bit cynical about it on paper. I thought it might be a bit of a sticker pack with some fancy wheels. It's much more than the sum of its parts, isn't it?
Absolutely. It is a really, really well-rounded package. It honours the Mark 1 badge. It brings back some of that heritage, and it wasn't just a flash in the pan. It wasn't just a sticker pack. It's a really, really excellent addition to the range.
And it sounds like this!
If you have loved our Mustang Mach 1 video, which of course you will have, then do the right thing. Give us a like and even better, subscribe.
And I want to finish today's video with a question because it's one we've been scratching our heads over. Is this, the Mustang GT and Mach 1, the only V8 manual car you can still buy in Australia? I think it is. Prove me wrong, please.